Christian Tete Yohuno has appealed to the BAWKU Naaba Asigri Abugrago Azoka, the second to intervene to stop the violent unrest in the area. Speaking during a courtesy call on the Overlord, the IGP reiterated the need for the police to collaborate with the Koso Traditional Authority to arrest the situation. The IGP further asked for forgiveness for the death of a civilian in Wednesday's violent clash, assuring the police will be professional in the discharge of their peacekeeping duties in the area.
I will appeal to you to talk to the youth that hope is not lost. We are ready to assist them. And so they should put down their arms and be ready to cooperate with us so that together we'll bring peace and everlasting peace to BAWKU. It is not deliberate that we as peacekeepers who have got international recognition will go to a place to bring peace, and deliberately we would like to see people dying. We will not allow that. So we'll always work extremely hard so that we will remain neutral. So we want to assure the BAWKU Naaba that our men will continue to be neutral, and those elements that you feel that by the discharge of their duties, it is not making peace possible over here. I think I will have a private discussion with him later and let us know so that we can be able to bring in people who really see to the effective discharge of their duties so that peace can come to BAWKU.
So that's the IGP Christian Tete Yohuno there. Let's get a bit more detail into this, because this is one that has generated a lot of concern. We'll connect with our Upper East Regional Correspondent Castro Senyala in a bit, who's been in the area, crisscrossing this particular area to find out exactly what the state of affairs is as we speak today. And yesterday we got information as well that an immigration officer was also caught in the crossfire and had sustained some injuries. We'll get some updates on that shortly. But one person who understands the fabric of the conflict in the northern part of the country, having been involved in the Dagbon peace process, is Emmanuel Kutin. He's joining us on telephone right now. He is a security analyst and also a mediation expert, peace mediation expert. Is joining us right now. Mr. Kutin, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Alfred, good evening, and thank you for having me.
It's always good to have you. First off, I mean, having the knowledge of the fabric of the conflicts within the northern part of the country, and also analyzing the response mechanism that we have seen so far in the BAWKU area, whenever there's a resumption of this conflict or the unrest in the area, a curfew is imposed and then security is reinforced. Is that the most potent response mechanism to this situation there?
Well, Alfred, thank you once again. In fact, my conclusion to what you just said is just that we can't be putting the same strategies together and expecting different results. I think the way to go is to move to the roundtable discussion. I know law and order is very important, but any time that disturbances and we put law and order, we go to sleep. I'm happy the president himself mentioned today that he has appealed to Otumfo to continue with the mediation efforts. I think before elections last year, that move was made, and there was some success because both student factions respected the Otumfo and he listened to them. Were to move to the next stage, and because of elections, for fear of political advantage or disadvantages, they left it there. I was expecting that immediately after the new government came into place, they would have kick-started the negotiation again. and you realize what happened. New dimensions are coming to the fore. Who would have thought that the MP from the area's house would be touched? It simply tells something. It's no longer mistrust, more or less, between our security personnel and the indigents. It has moved to a sense of entitlement on the part of the Kusasis because of certain promises that was made to them, that when they vote in a particular way, they will resolve the conflict. And truly, if you look at the electoral results in that area, it went in a particular way. So it was not surprising the Kusasi UK given ultimatum to the president and even threatened the MP not to come to BAWKU. So I'm happy that the IGP is there today. The president has also given the note for this process to kickstart. I'm just praying that it should be a very well coordinated, structured dialogue so that we can fill in the gaps and make gains from that process.
And we cannot water down the politics of this conflict, is it not? And you touched on it briefly, that whenever the NPP is in power, the Mamproshis appear, empowered and as you said, entitled. And then whenever the NDC is in power, you have the Kusasis also feeling empowered and entitled. Right. And this has been that the pendulum swings on both sides whenever each of these parties is in power. How should this be dealt with while the Otumfuo say to the second mediation process also deals with the chieftaincy, and the land dispute part of it?
I think when he kickstarts the process, apart from the traditional authorities, we have to involve national figures who doesn't have direct involvement in the conflict, who can endanger that kind of trust from the feuding factions. And then, to me, I've always called for a commission. Given the historical antecedent, this conflict had lingered on since independence. It's about time we allow both the Kusasis and the Mampreshis to tell their story. And who will better be the best judges listening to both sides is the good people of this country. So they should form a commission, give the people the opportunity to bend their anger, and in so doing, there will be healing. Then we can plug in all the peace-building initiatives in between and bring a lasting peace to BAWKU. And by so doing, once it's a chieftaincy problem, we can look at a framework where the National House of Chiefs can establish clear succession protocols and authority boundaries, like we did in Dagbon. Then we move to the Economic Development Initiative. We have to target the youth unemployment with specific programs that will reduce their vulnerability to mobilization. Then we look at the land use and resource sharing agreement. And most of the communities there are farmers. And no more often than not, there's always disagreement over land for farming. So we need to formalize arrangement for agricultural lands and market spaces. Then comes the educational integration, where we have to promote schools that serve multiple communities to build inter-ethnic understanding among the younger generation. And I just want to play with NPP and NDC to depoliticize the conflict. And that will bring de-escalation. Today, you realize that just a simple question somebody asked the IGP, and in response, he said he will prioritize employing BAWKU youth into the police service. The minority held a press conference. And I think these press conferences are becoming one too many. And it's losing its desired effects. We should be minded that, the IGP to me took policing to another level by bringing diplomacy to bear, given the circumstances, and very minded by the cultural and emotional sensitivities given the heavy losses on both sides. The IGP said, I'm going to prioritize the youth of BAWKU when it comes to recruitment. Did he say he's prioritizing for Kusasis or Mamprecious? Are the Kusasis and Mamprecious not all from BAWKU? So we have to be guided. It's not everything we have to play politics with. People have suffered for far too long. And on the internet, this is not the first time an initiative of this nature had happened. After you agree with me, we need to have these regional recruitment programs. Does it breed biases? No. To me, I think the people of BAWKU have suffered, and they have not enjoyed the national cake like the rest of us are enjoying because of this conflict. So if the IGP is pleading with them to let peace prevail so that they can bring processes to their doorstep, then they can be considered for recruitment. Why should this thing warrant? Why should this harmless statement warrant a response from the minority by way of a pressure? And the minority, for Christ's sake, they are behaving as if they have been in opposition for 10 years. Just 3 months. You are just coming out from government, and you've been in government for 8 good years. What did you do about the conflict? And I was thinking that the vice president being a Mamprecious, and given that he was the presidential candidate of the NPP, that was the saturation point of the conflict for us to have the peace building process and get all these things settled. Because I was thinking that the Mamprecious will tone down and then be peace abiding and looking forward to settling for peace, so that if their own become the president, the country can be in a hole, then he can prosecute whatever development agenda and the legacy he so desires for this country. So I plead with both the NPP and NDC to be minded and consider the good people of BAWKU and they have suffered for all this time, and depoliticize the tensions we have there, and allow the Otunfu and his team to do what they are supposed to do.
I see you kept mentioning and making reference to the minority NPP and what was done over the 8-year period that they were in power. In fact, the minority has been speaking about this as well and adding their voices to the call for some speedy resolution of the conflict in BAWKU. I want to take a listen to the minority's call and also how this gets to you. Take a listen.
And so the visit by the IGP to the BAWKU enclave is a step in the right direction. I mean, it's something that everybody should applaud. But what I am reading from social media, if that is true, then the IGP's visit is rather going to create more problems than good. To say that lay down your tools, and that if you lay down your tools, we will consider you for recruitment. It's something that one cannot understand. Why should people, I mean, yes, it is important. In order to de-escalate the situation in the BAWKU enclave, it is important that we get all parties involved to lay down their tools. But for me, it will be absurd to recruit people into the security services based on the fact that they've laid down their tools. What it means, that if you do not even meet the criteria to be recruited into the security service, you will be recruited into the security service because you have laid down your tool. That obviously is not the way to go. It is important that we deal with the BAWKU issue once and for all. I mean, if we all know the sensitivities surrounding the BAWKU issue, so if we are not careful and then one ethnic group lay down tools and then they are recruited into the security services, we all know the chaos this is going to create for the nation. It is simply not the way to go. We from the minority will support every move to bring finality and then to find solution to the situation in BAWKU, because BAWKU is a border town. And if care is not taken and we get these armed groupings, using BAWKU as a very weak point, the entire country will be on its knees. We don't want that. So as a
So that's the minority's call there, essentially, raising concern about the IGP's visit there and a statement that is attributed to him. That's Kofi Amankwame, who is the deputy ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee. Mr. Guten.
Alfred, unfortunately, that is also misplaced. It's about English semantics here. And his statements were in the response to a question about opportunities in the service. And the complaint was that because they have been under curfew and in conflict for a long time, their youth don't get the opportunities of enlistment. So does it warrant? And if you even listen to him, he said the IGP said he could, if they lay down their tools, he could consider them. Conditional statement. The operational word here is cool. How does that amount to wholesale recruitment from the area? I think the minority should tone down a bit, and we can love our parties more than our nations. You understand? The party doesn't exist in a vacuum. So we have to all do whatever we can do in our own capacity to make sure that the things we say will lead to processes that can bring peace in BAWKU, but not the violence as a people. Unfortunately, I think that was not in good taste and totally misplaced, Africa.
I see. And maybe finally, before I let you go, especially because of the dynamics of this particular conflict, I mean, one moment it erupts, people are dead as a result, and in this time around we have some security personnel as well who have sustained injuries. As you indicated, the MPs, the Member of Parliament, BAWKU Central MP's house was, they attempted torching the house. The police commander's house we understand, was also torched, was burnt. So what should be, in your view, as going forward, the major considerations in the mediation that Otumfuo said the second is going to lead?
I think the immediate term, I think the security must enhance its forces with clear rules of engagement, avoiding perceived biases towards any of the ethnic groups. I think we also need to create humanitarian corridors, like you mentioned, those who are affected can get access to aid and medical services. And what is crucial is that the security must implement a temporary buffer zones between the conflicted communities, whilst dialogue progresses to a stage that they will be convinced that the escalation of the tension has come to a level they can manage. Then in the medium term, like I mentioned, we can look at independent investigation commission with representatives from both the Kusas and the Mampichi communities, along with neutral mediators who can investigate recent violence, including the death of the gentleman that sparked this, and I think he's one Hussein Idrisu or so. And then the Otumfuo will complement that with what Otumfuo and Co will start. Then from there, government must devote resources and make sure that in the long term, all the structural reforms, like I mentioned earlier, adhere strictly to. And I'll plead with Ghanaians. You see, Ghana as a whole is surrounded by the Sahelian states, where terrorism and violent extremism is rift. If we lose BAWKU could become the Waterloo to our fight against violent extremism or terrorism. So it's a collective duty of everybody to make sure that we contribute our quota to the BAWKU crisis. It's not a national crisis issue. It's no more a localized conflict. If you go to the search engine and you type in BAWKU conflict, you get interesting stories to read about that. That is how far this has gone international. And we must take every step to minimize the escalation and find lasting solutions to this conflict that has been bedeviled the country since pre-independence. I think it's solvable, and we can do it with all hands on deck when we do politicize the situation and we kind of march forward and hold the bull by the horn.
Mr. Kutin, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Alfred.
Emmanuel Kuting is a mediation expert and also a security analyst, is joining us on the phone. In fact, his extensive involvement in the resolution of the Dagbon crisis as well, and that knowledge of the architecture of the violence in the northern part of the country is what we sought to bring his view into this BAWKU situation. Well, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohuno, has been speaking a lot more, giving details about what the next phase and the next step will be going forward. Let's take a listen to him.
I will appeal to you to talk to the youth that hope is not lost. We are ready to assist them. And so they should put down their arms and be ready to cooperate with us so that together we'll bring peace and everlasting peace to BAWKU. It is not deliberate that we as peacekeepers who have got international recognition will go to a place to bring peace, and deliberately we would like to see people dying. We will not allow that. So we'll always work extremely hard so that we'll remain neutral. So we want to assure the BAWKU Naaba that our men will continue to be neutral, and those elements
as the IGP there, giving some more details on the recruitment and what the way forward will be. Well, but the minority, they've taken a serious position against comments made by the Inspector General of Police, Dr. Christian Tete Yohuno, during his visit to BAWKU, describing them as out of place, essentially, and urging him to reconsider. Speaking at a press briefing today, we've got details of the minority's position, but let's just recall exactly what the IGP said with respect to this appeal to the young people in BAWKU to lay down their tools and be considered for recruitment into the Ghana Police Service.
I've come here as your son, looking for peace in BAWKU. We thank you for doing a lot to make sure that we have peace that enable us to enter BAWKU today. Your Royal Highness, what we say is that where we have give us in the course of discharge of our duties where we have gone wrong.
Well, as the IGP there, let's hear from Reverend Tim Fojo, who is the ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, speaking for the minority, specifically about their issues and concerns with the IGP's comments.
Of mediation will continue. That will also call for the recomposition of the BAWKU Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee, and we're also appealing to traditional leaders and all relevant stakeholders, the Peace Council, the National House of Chiefs, the Regional House of Chiefs, to also continue to do their part in building peace. But we as a minority at the outset or foremost convey our sympathies to the bereaved families and the injured, and to all persons and organizations who have lost property as a result of this conflict and as a result of the immediate escalation. But one of the other strategies that we recommend also to government is for government to lead an engagement with the youth and key stakeholders to listen to their concerns, because those concerns, when they are listened to and immediately addressed, it will address the immediate causes of this escalation. And when peace calms down and we have relative calm, it will be an effective recipe for the mediation led by Otumfuo to continue, and for other stakeholders who are also supporting to continue for peace to be built. So that dovetails into the Abeji from Joy FM's concern.
Well, so that's the Reverend Otumfuo Joe, could safely call him the fire member of parliament for the Asin South constituency, is ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. Let's go on to the telephone now. George Amo is Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council. He's joining us right now. Ms. Amo, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's evening. Sorry. Good evening, my brother. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. It's good to have you join us.
Great, Mr. Ocansey.
Perfect. Now, we understand from the President's pronouncement earlier today that Otumfuo said to the seconds mediation efforts in the BAWKU is going to resume next week, all things being equal. Looking at the changing nature or the evolving nature of this conflict, what should be the approach that this mediation should take after it resumes next week?
Yes, thank you once again, and good evening to all the cherished listeners of 3FM. If it's the BAWKU issue, the fundamental problem we have is that trust has been broken. It is difficult for the people to trust the security. The security now have caused even not to trust people who are working in the area, freely. This compounds the already existing, tension between the major protagonists, the Mampusis and the Kusasis. So we have to fix the issue of trust. And how do you do that? If there is perception of mistrust, what you can do to reduce the tension and de-escalate, one is to increase the bridges for dialogue across all sections of people, in the community, the youth, the traditional rulers in the area, the media, your good self, very critical. The women's associations there, the civil society groups there, every part has a role to play in ensuring that trust is retained. But, my brother, apart from this, the critical issue is that when somebody feels that he has what it takes to kill somebody or to destroy somebody, the person is emboldened to do that. And this brings us to the issue of arms. Small arms, illicit arms, that are in the hands of people without any restraint. If you see the way the youth in the area were able to muster the courage, to sort of go after the security, it is somehow difficult to understand. So it brings us to this issue of arms. If we're able to retrieve arms from the people, it will be very difficult for them to do some of the things we see. So I think all of us must come to that point where probably a moratorium should be issued. I know my brother Adam Bona and the team are doing their best. I think we should watch these two things I've said. If we're able to get arms retrieved as much as we can, if we're able to restore broken trust, and I can tell you, my brother Ocansey, there are so many people in the area who are also going through psychological problems because of the things they've watched, the things they've seen, the horrors they've encountered. So we have to also sort of bring some psychosocial interventions to help people come to terms with what is happening. But basically, I think the Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee, which the Peace Council and others facilitated, to be the driving engine, for early warning signs and responses to be given. I think that committee would have to be revisited. And probably the issue of trust also came up there because they were working very well until initially, I think the Mampusis left. They came back. The Kusais also left at a point. So it is also very important we get the Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee working because that is a sort of an insider mediation committee which is composed of parties from both the Mampusis and the Kusaisis. You see? So that will help. And I would also want to suggest strongly that the Otunfo Committee, very brilliant, but probably they can also broaden their scope a bit. To if the Peace Council, for example, can our regional office there is very, very, very active. So probably with civil society groups there, such as BUDA, there's a civil society there called BUDA, which is doing very well. There's Cogenta there, which is helping. If all these forces can come together, I think we can find a solution. The kinetic method can only stop the fighting, but to build relationship is surely the way to go. And if you can do that, then dialogue at all levels to remove the issue of suspicion, the issue of mistrust, because that is fundamental for restoring peace in BAWKU.
So hold on a bit for me. We're going to go straight to BAWKU now. My colleague and our correspondent there, Castro Senila, is joining us. Castro, what's the latest on the ground as we speak? Hello, Castro? Castro, can you hear me?
Right. Alfred, I can hear you. The IGP has concluded his visit to the BAWKU area, where he's been engaging a number of stakeholders, including the BAWKU Naaba, Naba Abu Grago Azwaka II, where he personally made an appeal to him to see how he could use his influence to help to bring the violent unrest to a stop. He says that the police on their side will do all they can to make sure that their men are put on a strict procedure to follow in terms of discharging their peacekeeping duties. He also says they'll be more professional, and he says that the next time issues of these things would happen, he wouldn't be happy at all. He would work around the clock to ensure that such incidents where police clash with civilian population in BAWKU does not repeat itself. Alfred, it's also interesting to note that the IGP also asked for forgiveness of the BAWKU people. Firstly, the BAWKU Naaba, and secondly, of the people, saying that if they got angry by what happened, then they should forgive him. That's called the need. The essence of a collaboration between the traditional area, the youth, and the police to ensure amicable solution is found, and especially the recurrent unrests that have led to the death of civilians, unarmed civilians, is put to a stop. Alfred, let listeners understand a quick thing. When we got the entire BAWKU Naaba Chief Palace was filled to the brim with youth who were agitating. We saw them carrying placards. They were so angry at the recent happenings where a key figure within the youth lost his life, and for the putting away of the leaders, especially the youth leaders, this has been different, Alfred. The street agencies, knowing how bad the situation is, also prepared adequately. We had the police with their armed vehicles and all the units, all their powerful units in BAWKU. We had the military on the side. We had the immigration also supporting with, armed officers. But still, the youth were so agitated that it nearly became an issue. But the IGP was able to use his, some soft words to calm them down and assure that, look, some of these mistakes would not repeat again, and he would, launch an investigation into what happened, and whoever is behind will be brought to book. Because that was one of the requests of the Zugran, that's the BAWKU Naaba, and the youth leaders who called for an investigation to be, instituted into the recent killing, because it appears the person who died recently is a key figure within the youth, and for that matter, the youth are really pained about his death and were really wild with the whole area atmosphere very tense. Alfred, back to you.
Appreciate you for this comprehensive detail there. That's Kasu Senyana, is our Upper East Regional Correspondent. And back to you, Mr. Amo, you're talking about dialogue at all levels to deal with this. But then again, how do we deal with the mistrust when this matter is also heavily politicized? Whenever the MDC is in power, you have the Kosasis feeling empowered. Whenever the MPP is in power, you also see the Mamprosi is also feeling empowered as well. How do we deal with the mistrust in the midst of the politics?
Yes, thank you. I think this can be done if we structure the method for dialogue professionally and with the best interest of the people in the area at heart. How can we proceed? One, we did similar one for Bimbilla when Bimbilla was in crisis some years back. So you first would have to do separate dialogues. We've done it before. You bring probably the key actors from one of the sides. You can bring them here in Accra, get them a very good place, speak to them. If they are there for some 3-4 days, we discuss what are the issues. We do the same thing with the other side, probably at a different place. You take probably the youth only to another side. These are the levels I was trying to say. You try even to take the women associations there. You take the political actors to some place, and it will come to a point, my brother Alfred, you would get to know the real issues behind what we see. Because always there are positions that people will show up, but beneath the position will be the interest and the need. So what is the real need? We have to uncover, and we can only do that through engagements, through dialogues. If we're able to get to that point, I am confident we can do that. But it needs the strongest will from those in authority. The financial support for peace workers. You see, I have consistently said that if we are to be given 55% of what goes into the hard security, peace will be restored to BAWKU and all the other places. Because there are key actors from the area who are internationally known for their peace-building skills. How can we deploy all these skills? If we have to bring somebody from out of the country, probably to restore trust, why not? We can. If we have to carry, there was a time we wanted to carry, let me probably not use the word carry, but to convey the chief imam to the place, probably to pray. So we have come to a point, all of us must use every available mechanism to ensure we bring BAWKU back to normalcy, because it is not healthy for us. I am very happy the IGP and in fact my own minister Muntaka, the actions they've taken so far, I think very excellent. I think that we should not rest after this initial effort. We have to quick start the process for dialogue. We can do that. And you see, Alfred, that corridor, I think we should not lose the fact that it links two of our bordering countries, Burkina Faso and Togo. And all traders from these countries will be interested in what takes place in BAWKU. So I would also want to encourage the security to carefully watch those who ply the routes. It may all happen that there are people with interest who probably have more to do than what our eyes can see. So we have to do a lot of intelligence gathering in the area,
right,
to help us overcome this intractable conflict. I think we have to. I want to appeal to everybody, the youth in BAWKU, in the whole Kusag area. Please, the future is for you. Anybody who loses life, we cannot restore that.
Right.
I mean, the young man who died,
yes,
so painful. You can't bring him back.
Indeed.
I know somebody, a nurse, who has been traumatized because somebody was shot in her presence. A young nurse was posted to the place.
Right.
Please, we want to appeal. Let's give peace a chance. And those who have lost loved ones, on behalf of the Peace Council, I convey our sincerest regrets.
Right.
And wish you speedy recovery from this unfortunate event. Let us live together.
Indeed.
There's more to gain when we live together than to insist on our rights at this time.
I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Zamo.
Thank you so much, Alfred. I'm grateful.
Thank you. George Amo is the Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council. They're so live here on Hot Edition on